Okay, let's talk about Israel and Iran. For years, it's been called a shadow war, but now it has burst right out into the open, and honestly, the whole world is holding its breath. This is not just some regional squabble. It's a conflict on a knife's edge, and understanding what could happen next is, well, it's crucial for everyone. And the stakes here? They just couldn't be higher. We're looking at a situation that could genuinely reshape global politics, not to mention security. This is so much more than a distant headline. It's an incredibly delicate standoff that could have consequences that reach every single one of us. So the big question is, how did we get here? How did we get to this dangerous new phase? I mean, the hostility between Israel and Iran has been simmering for decades, but something has definitely changed. The shadow war has been dragged into the light, and it feels like the old rules of the game have been completely thrown out the window. And that is exactly why you hear so many people calling this a ticking time bomb. Both nations are under an insane amount of pressure. For Iran, it's all about projecting strength against both Israel and the US. And for Israel, preventing a nuclear Iran is their absolute non-negotiable red line. You put those two things together, and you get this incredibly tense situation where just one wrong move could set the whole thing off. The escalation is happening on just about every front you can imagine. You've got Iran pushing forward with its nuclear program. At the same time, Israel's been conducting airstrikes in places like Syria. But now we're seeing direct drone and missile attacks, not to mention really sophisticated cyber warfare. Every single move just pushes both sides one step higher up a very, very dangerous ladder. But look, to really wrap your head around the danger of this moment, you have to understand this didn't just start yesterday. Not at all. This is built on a foundation of decades, and I mean decades, of deep, deep rivalry and mutual distrust. At the very heart of this are two worldviews that just fundamentally clash. From Israel's perspective, Iran is an existential threat, period. They point to its nuclear program and its support for groups like Hezbollah and Hamas. But if you flip that coin, from Iran's point of view, Israel is an illegitimate state, propped up by what they see as hostile Western powers, with the United States at the top of that list. As you can see, there's not a lot of common ground there. Which, of course, brings us to the United States. The U.S. is a central player here, and its actions, or even its inactions, are absolutely critical to how this all unfolds. And for them, it is an incredibly complicated and difficult balancing act. So America's strategy is basically a three-part mission. And these goals, well, they often conflict with each other. First, Washington is totally committed to supporting Israel's security as its strongest ally. Second, it's trying to deter Iranian aggression throughout the region. But third, and this one is maybe the most critical, it wants to prevent a full-scale war that it could easily get dragged into. Juggling all three of those, that's the core challenge. And this isn't just about high-level diplomacy. The risks are very, very real for American personnel. You've got U.S. forces stationed all across the region, in Iraq, in Syria, in the Persian Gulf, and every single one of them is vulnerable if a bigger conflict breaks out. So why should this matter to you, watching from halfway around the world? Because the ripple effects of a direct conflict between Israel and Iran would be felt everywhere. The entire world is watching this, and for some very good reasons. I mean, what would a direct conflict actually look like for the rest of the world? Well, for starters, think about global oil prices skyrocketing as key shipping routes are threatened. Think about a devastating new war in a Middle East that's already unstable, sparking fear that doesn't just stay in one region. The consequences would be massive, felt everywhere from the gas pump to our collective sense of security. The international community is, and this probably won't surprise you, split on how to deal with this. You've got a pretty significant camp with big players like Russia and China who are more aligned with Iran. Then you've got the biggest group, a lot of European nations who are just urging restraint from everybody. And then, of course, you have the US, leading the pack of Israel's strongest allies. There's no global consensus here at all. All of this leads us to a critical crossroads with two starkly different paths forward. The choice that's made between them is going to determine what happens next, not just for the region, but for the entire world. So, what are the options? On one side, you have diplomacy. It's a chance for talks to cool things down, to pull everyone back from the brink. But on the other side, there's escalation. And the really terrifying thing here is that it wouldn't take some grand declaration of war. A single miscalculation, just one missile going slightly off course, could be the spark that ignites a global fire. And so we're left with this one giant question that's hanging over all of us. Will these two nations find a way to step back from the brink? Or is the momentum of escalation just too strong to stop? The whole world is watching, because the answer, whatever it is going to affect us all.